Good evening, London. Allow me first to apologize. I do, like many of you, appreciate the comforts of the everyday routine, the security of the familiar, the tranquility, repetition. I enjoy them as much as any bloke. But in the spirit of commemoration, important events of the past, usually associated with someone's death or the end of some awful bloody struggle, are celebrated with a nice holiday, I thought we could mark this November the 5th, a day that is sadly no longer remembered, by taking some time out of our daily lives to sit down and have a little chat. There are, of course, those who do not want us to speak. In fact, even now, orders are being shouted into telephones, and men with guns will soon be on their way. Why? Because while the truncheon may be used in lieu of conversation, words will always retain their power. Words offer the means to meaning, and for those who will listen, the enunciation of truth. And the truth is, there is something terribly wrong with this country, isn't there? Cruelty and injustice, intolerance and oppression. And where once you had the freedom to object, to think and speak as you saw fit, you now have censors and systems of surveillance coercing your conformity and seeing your submission. How did this happen? Who's to blame? Well, certainly there are those who are more responsible than others, and they will be held accountable. But again, truth be told, if you're looking for the guilty, you need only look into a mirror. I know why you did it. I know you were afraid. Who wouldn't be? War, terror, disease. There were a myriad of problems which conspired to... Fear got the best of you, and in your panic you turned to the now High Chancellor. He promised you order, he promised you peace. And all he demanded in return was your silent, obedient consent. Last night, I sought to end that silence. Last night, I destroyed the Old Bailey to remind this country of what it has forgotten. More than 400 years ago, a great citizen wished to embed the 5th of November forever in our memory. His hope was to remind the world that fairness, justice, and freedom are more than words. They are perspectives. So if you've seen nothing, if the crimes of this government remain unknown to you, then I would suggest that you allow the 5th of November to pass unmarked. But if you see what I see, if you feel as I feel, and if you would seek as I seek, then I ask you to stand beside me 1 year from tonight, outside the gates of Parliament, and together we shall give them a 5th of November that shall never, ever be forgotten.
If it is left to me, I would certainly not eat it. We are putting new things into food which have not been eaten before. The effects on the immune system are not easily predictable, and I challenge anyone who will say that the effects are predictable. That's a quote by Professor Arpad Pusztai of the Food, I couldn't pronounce his name there, of the Food, Gut and Microbial Interactions Group, the Rowett Research Institute, and the health risks associated with genetically engineered foods. Monsanto should not have to vouchsafe the safety of biotech food. Our interest is in selling as much of it as possible, and assuring its safety is the FDA's, Food and Drug Administration's, job. And that's by Phil Angel, Monsanto's Director of Corporate Communications, in an interview with the New York Times Sunday magazine. Another quote says that gene technology is driven by bad science. It may well ruin our food supply and destroy biodiversity and unleash pandemics of antibiotic-resistant infectious diseases. That's Dr. Mai Wan Ho, the head of the Bioelectrodynamics Laboratory at the Open University in Milton Keynes, UK. Okay, welcome to Dawn's Diorama. It's Sunday, 9th of June 2013, and tonight I'm joined by the creator of groundbreaking films such as GMO A Go-Go, Meet Your Straw Man, and The Disclosure. This is Kirk Rutter, who is joining me tonight, and his website, I had it handy, but I'll get it for you in a minute, and I'll throw it in the chat. I don't know, I thought I had put it in there. Anyway, welcome to the show, Kirk. How are you doing?
Hello, Dawn. Good evening. Thanks for getting me on. It was great to be here.
Oh, it's a pleasure, Kirk. It's great to have you. and I've been looking forward to this, especially covering such an important topic, because obviously it's going to affect everybody really, especially as the way things are going with the Monsanto Protection Act. Even though that's in the US now, how long before something similar tries to creep in over here?
Yeah,
So we can maybe talk about that later. But for now, I wanted to begin maybe by getting an introduction about who you are and how you got into all this. Just if we go back to the beginning, maybe build up to how you got into research and all this stuff, and what made you realise, hang on, this is not right, and what got you into making these films?
Well, I think the way I was brought up, my dad made me question everything, so I've always been kind of sceptical and things like that anyway. So I think it was in my personality to kind of look around, and I just had a general feeling, I think, for a long time that, we're just all on this kind of fake treadmill, and that you just go to work, you sleep, you eat, and you do that, and then you die. And I don't think that's the way we're meant to live. I think it's a bastardization of nature, and the way we kind of live. And, I've always kind of felt that. I know that probably sounds a bit extreme, but I've always felt that, and I remember feeling that when I was a kid. So, I've always been a bit kind of questioning about things like, I think the royal family and the way people will run down to them and kind of, like the Jubilee thing, will go and wave flags at this old woman on a golden boat. It is just ridiculous, really, and I can't get my head around it, but most people can't get their head around that kind of viewpoint either. So, so I think that gives you an idea of kind of my way of thinking, I think, and I've been like that for a long time, and I, thanks to my old man, really, So somebody was telling me at work about chemtrails, and I thought, well, that sounds, that sounds a bit bonkers, and I started looking into it, and I thought, oh, actually, there is a difference, and some planes do lead long trails that seed into clouds, and it kind of went from there, really.
Yeah, because it is all kind of viciously connected. I mean, I don't know if you know Mr. Max Bliss. I've had him on before. He's actually, well, I'll not go too much into that now, but the other night, funnily enough, when I was walking home, right above me there was like a kind of military plane flying above me, and it was going quite fast, but it was flying a bit lower than you normally see planes flying, and there was a long, steady stream behind it, and it wasn't dispersing. And there had been like several kind of lines crisscrossing in the sky, so it had been spraying quite heavily. Yeah,
so the sky looks like a big checkerboard. It's very, it's not right. And then a few hours later, it's full of a blue sky is grey and full of cloud. So that got me kind of looking at all this kind of stuff, the conspiracy stuff, and what really got me into making the films was I saw there's a talk by John Harris called "It's an Illusion," and it's all about how everything is a legal fiction and a corporation, like the police force are a corporation, the Labour Party are registered as a corporation. And all that kind of, and I thought, oh my God, it kind of blew my mind a bit. So I started looking a bit more into that, and then behind that there was a guy called Thomas Anderson, who John actually based his work on, and he's a Brit who now lives out in the bush in Australia somewhere and isn't really connected to the internet. And Thomas Anderson is also the name of the character Neo in The Matrix, which I found kind of funny. I thought, what is that?
Yeah,
Is that coincidence? Did the makers of the Matrix use his name because he was the one that kind of came up with all the straw man stuff and started kind of writing lots of books about it? So John Harris kind of based his work on that, and I saw that, and it was an hour lecture, and you try and talk to people about it, try and tell them about Admiralty law and stuff like that, and they just look at you as if you're crazy. So I thought, well, I'd like to find a way to condense that and have an introduction rather than trying to explain it all. Have an introduction, and if people want to look beyond that, then they can.
Something
So
digestible, yeah.
yeah, something very, very small, very easy. So I thought, well, I've got no background in making animations or films at all, and but I feel I can do it. I feel this is right, and I'm going to do it, and my instinct was going to do it. So through a load of synchronistic kind of events, I found all the people that I needed, and I wrote a script which drove me round the bend, trying to I had to do a lot of reading, a lot of research, condense it all down, and then we did it. It took 6 months, and it was a massive learning curve for me. But it just shows you can do anything really if you kind of put your mind to it. To have no experience at all, and to be able to produce something, and we went on from there really.
Yeah, I mean, I found, especially the GM Go-Go, it was very funny, the animation you had, with the lawyers going from the FDA to the court to just all around in a kind of star shape, and they were everything was connected. Basically.
Yeah, well, that was deliberately pentagram, because actually, if you look at the street layout of around Washington, it's an inverted pentagram, which is like a satanic symbol.
Yeah, I got that with it. Yeah, because you brought humour into it as well. It made it more. I think it's more approachable in that sense to people. It's more kind of going to hold their attention, because they think, oh, that is actually quite funny, but they're taking things in from it, taking something away from it. And because you made it kind of short, succinct, and you covered quite a lot, even although it was quite succinct, you covered a lot. That in itself makes it easier for people to actually grasp, and actually take the time, because a lot of people, well, okay, I'm not see a lot of people, but people's attention spans vary, really. And some people, you just might, if it was being a 2-hour thing, they might have said, oh, I just can't be bothered with that, I'm too busy, But whereas if it's a 10-minute thing, they might make the time for it.
Yeah, well, we were a bit worried that actually at 9.5 minutes it was going to be too long, because Meet Your Straw Man was 5.5 minutes and Disclosure was 3.5. So we had to there's so much in this, we had to chop quite a bit out. My starting point with this is just, I think the whole GMO, genetically modified organism, or God move over, I think is a better kind of description of it. It's like me walking up to an apple tree, picking an apple, and saying, "Oh, I've discovered apples. I'm gonna patent these." It's fraud. I think it's disgusting. So that we kind of heard about Codex Alimentarius, and we were going to call the film Codex Schmodex and go into that, because that's about robbing humanity of all the natural kind of cures, and hemp oil, things like that. And just by doing it, by saying, well, adopting the kind of, I think it's a Napoleonic protocol. So everything has to be thoroughly tested before it can use. So rather than kind of it causing harm and then being removed, you have to prove that it is 100% kind of safe, and that needs vigorous testing, which a lot of companies that produce natural stuff can't afford. So that effectively pushes them out of the market. And so until you get that kind of approval, it's illegal.
Yeah, I just wanted to. Sorry.
Well, as I say, which only then leads you to the pharmaceutical route.
I just wanted to throw out there, just before you carry on there, your website, infomaticfilms.com.
Yep, and you can download, you can watch it, and you can download your own copy and distribute the film. I mean, that was always our kind of stance as well. If we're going to do it, we do it in our spare time. We all, we've all got day jobs, and we want it to kind of, the information to go out as far as possible. Yeah. So
absolutely. Mhm. So, can we talk about what GMOs are now? Can you maybe tell us what they are, what the kind of process there is they have to go through to be GMO, and what are they adding to our food, really?
Well, as I understand it, I mean, I'm not a scientist, but from what my research is that, the basic kind of starting point is that a gene is inserted from another kind of plant, and it's a natural toxin. So they take a toxin from another plant. It's a Bt toxin. Sorry, I can never say it, and I've got a bit of a lisp as well, so that sounds even worse if I try. But it's Bt is basically bacteria that gets artificially inserted into the gene, and it destroys the insect's stomach. It causes one version is it causes the insects that eat it to have their stomachs destroyed, and so it contains the pesticide itself. Another one is to have insert a gene that makes the plants resistant to herbicides. So basically, a farmer can absolutely drench his field in herbicides, and the plants that contain the gene don't get killed. Only the weeds around it. Unfortunately, the weeds around it, that's part of the kind of biodiversity that bees and things like that need to live on. So they're killed off, and it does affect the kind of biodiversity of our planet by doing that. And also, you're eating something that is absolutely drenched in pesticide. So they're the two kind of main things. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that hasn't left the lab, like I know there was. We put it in GMO Go-Go as a kind of a joke almost, but it's just to show what is possible and what may kind of come in the future, and that's taking a gene from an Atlantic codfish and putting it into a strawberry to make it more frost resistant, so you get a better kind of frost crop. Sorry, a better strawberry crop if you've got in Britain or somewhere where you do get cold. So you're eating kind of strawberries that have got fish genes in, if that goes out of the lab, if that's kind of put out there. And I think this week wheat, genetically modified wheat, has been found out in the wild, even though that's not meant to be outside the lab. And once it's out, it's out. You can't recall it. It's out there, and it'll cross-pollinate and destroy everything.
Yeah, I did see something about the GM wheat. An article about that. I'll dig it up later. But at the moment, I was wanting to maybe go on about the arguments for, because there is some arguments for, and obviously there's plenty of arguments against. But let's kind of deal with these first, right? The arguments for. Now, one of them suggests GMO technology can develop crops with higher yield, less fertilizer, less pesticides, and more nutrients. Do you think that there's any truth to that, or do you think that's a load of bull?
I think that's utter bullshit. The experience, that most people have is that the yields aren't stronger, and that in India you've got the cotton. The Bt cotton, the bollworm, which is the main pest for that is meant to be killed, has become resistant. I'll never forget that line Jeff Goldblum says in Jurassic Park, "Life finds a way," and that's what's going to happen. And that's what's happening with the GM technology. Is starting to fail. Weeds are becoming resistant. The bollworm is becoming resistant, and now in India you've got people. Farmers having to employ people to pull up the weeds by hand because the technology has failed. So they're paying people to pull up weeds by hand, and in America they're doing it as well because the weeds become super weeds, they become resistant, and then that doesn't work. So maybe they'll have to come up with another solution.
Yeah. Yeah, I just think, obviously when you mentioned before about the fact that these are basically destroying the insects, the pesticides are destroying the insects' stomachs. And what if it's doing that to the insect? What's it doing to us, really?
Well, exactly. There's a whole, Jeffrey, I think it's Jeffrey Smith. He hasn't got a scientific background, but he's one of the main spokesmen for the anti-GMO movement, and he's done a lot of really great films. He's collaborated with a lot of scientists, and I think he does a lot of stuff through Natural News with Mike Adams, who is also a really great bloke. Sorry, where was I going with this? I've lost my train of thought. Sorry, Dawn.
Let's go back to while you're thinking about that. Let's go back to the arguments for, because there was another couple of things I wanted to bring up there. One of them says GMOs may not be natural, but not everything natural is good for us. Not everything unnatural is bad for us. Poisonous mushrooms are natural, but we shouldn't eat them. Washing our food before eating it is not natural, but it is healthier for us.
Right.
What do you say to that?
Well, I think that sounds like a bit of a kind of playground argument to me. This isn't that's not smashing genes into another plant that would never cross-pollinate in nature. And possibly in most cases couldn't cross-pollinate in nature. But once the BT cross-pollinates with another plant, so a BT strain cross-pollinates into a non-BT strain, then it's in there, and then it can cross-pollinate. But that gene from the insect would not naturally get into that, so it's not natural. There are there are things that will poison us and be bad for us in nature. That only certain things can eat, and I don't see how that's an argument to kind of smash genes into something where they shouldn't be.
Yeah, I thought it was quite good to, I had a look, because obviously, I think I've made it pretty plain what side of the fence I'm on with this, because I'm disgusted by Monsanto and all these corporations, disgusted by the whole GMO thing. I find it actually quite horrifying, what I've seen, what I've found out about it, really. And especially, the Monsanto Protection Act, if they have to have a Monsanto Protection Act to make them immune to the courts, why are they going to such lengths to have that passed so that they're being protected? What do they need to be protected from?
Well, because it's perfectly safe, there's nothing wrong with this technology. It's good for you, don't worry about it, just eat it and shut up. And then, if they do find something is a bit dodgy later on, they'll cover their asses with this, haven't they? Yeah, we know, don't we? We know it's dodgy, we know it's bad, our film has been debunked. I found out this week. There was someone's taken the time to do a debunking and go through it point by point. So, that's a massive compliment. Yeah, I was really pleased when I saw that. But you were talking about Arpad Puchstein, the geneticist. He was a PhD biochemist, and he was working up at the Rowett Institute in Aberdeen. And he even said that, not only, because he was giving genetically modified potatoes to rats, and he was taking the lectins from snowdrops and putting them in, which contained a natural kind of poison for aphids. And it was killing the aphids, but it was also killing, he said that it could also kill the ladybirds that eat the aphids. So it goes further into the food chain. It doesn't just stop there. But he also said not only is he concerned about that and he wouldn't eat it, he also said that he found out that the process of inserting a gene into, just where you put the gene, so not only the gene you use, but where you put it, can cause a different expression of that gene. So just putting it in the wrong place can cause it to be something completely different, or put it in a different place can cause a different expression of the gene. That's what he seems to be suggesting. So, there's been no real testing of this technology apart from on people. And I think the biotech industry take the line that, GMO's been available for 25 years and everyone's fine. Well, are we? We've got an epidemic of obesity, diabetes, cancer, kids are dying of cancer, blah, blah, blah. I'm not saying that's directly linked to GMOs, but, I don't think we are the healthiest kind of society that has been around so far. Given our technological advances and the availability of GMO, I think that's just like a very blanket statement, isn't it?
that kind of leads us on to like the ingredients that they're in processed genetically modified food often, and I mean especially like so a lot of these ingredients are put in foods and drinks as well. Like I mean you're when you're talking about the obesity there, like, you're talking about like I mean I'm thinking about Diet Coke, for example. I mean it's such a con really because it's got the diet versions tend to have like 5 more ingredients, toxic ingredients, as opposed to the non-diet version. And it's also like they've got nasty things like aspartame and these things, you know, are kind of, could be argued that they are encouraging obesity, or else they're encouraging you to crave carbohydrates and things so that you stay fat, or you know, like you eat more of them as a result and stay fat.
Do you know the history of aspartame?
Oh yeah, it's kind of like
it's genetically modified. Oh God, there's a bloody I can't remember. Sorry, there's the Ebola virus. I think it's the genetically modified Ebola virus feces. Yeah, and Donald Rumsfeld was the kind of key person that got it through. You know, and he's a nice kind of kind, caring chappy, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, it's all connected. And you look into the backgrounds of these corporations, like that are behind these GMOs. I mean, I know I'm familiar with a few, apart from obviously the one everybody knows, Monsanto, and then series which I've brought up several times before. Series could be one and the same as Monsanto, I'm not sure, but when I looked at because that's a biotech GMO kind of corporation as well, into the GMO seeds and whatnot. Now, when you look at the principal investors of Series, you find that, I mean, they're also American, you find that it's like Rothschilds to the Ambergate Trust, but you also find that Monsanto is listed a principal investor. This is why I think maybe one and the same. But also the Oppenheimers are invested in both Series and Monsanto. So that's another reason. So, I mean, I don't know if it's... Because you don't really hear much about Series, really. I mean, when I was looking into to try and find the names of other kind of corporations that were doing it, like, I've known about DuPont being involved for a while as well, the DuPont family. Not sure if you've heard about them before. They were actually listed as one of the Fritz Springmeier wrote a book. Now, this term Illuminati, a lot of people have a problem with it, but really it's just like a kind of umbrella term for a lot of secret societies and whatnot. But the 13 bloodlines, and the DuPonts were listed in that as being one of the families, along with the Rothschilds, the Kennedys, the Onassis, and all these kind of families. So they're actually quite a prominent, and they're also involved with the pharmaceuticals. And if you look into the pharmaceuticals, they're connected to the biotech. It's like one and the same. The pharmaceuticals and the biotech are the same thing. Yeah.
Really. Well, the main companies are like Monsanto, DuPont, Dow, Syngenta, and Bayer.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I'm not sure which one is like more prominent in the UK. Really, I mean, I suppose the UK and Europe, the legislation is a bit different over here. There's it's a bit stricter, isn't it, in terms of because I was looking into there's EU regulations. The latest ones I could find were July 2003, and it was about labelling requirements. Right. And on those wishing to sell any foods derived from GM sources, these regulations came into force in 2003. Under the regulations, the presence of novel DNA or protein is no longer to be the trigger for labelling, but the use of the process of genetic modification in producing the food is instead. So this means that, for example, oil from GM rape has to be labelled, as do other products such as glucose syrup produced using starch from GM maize, even though they contain no trace of GM material and are identical to the non-GM product. I mean, you can look it up revised EU regulations July 2003. If anybody wants to look that up, they can find out a bit more about it. I'm not sure how that affects the UK, really, if it's...
Well, I'm not sure how it works outside the, if food is produced outside the UK and it's brought in, it's shipped in, so it's like, a kind of something in a tin or a packet, and it's produced in another country and then imported. I'm not sure how that kind of legislation kicks in, but I know that GMO isn't the big issue that it is in a lot of places around the world, in Europe at the moment. And that was to do a lot with the guy that you mentioned in your opening comments, Arpad Pusztai, the Hungarian geneticist, because he was fired the day after he kind of started speaking about his work, where he was giving these rats modified potatoes, and they were getting kind of sterility issues and growth issues and organ kind of issues, after 3 generations. So that caused a big backlash against it in Europe, and that closed the door on it a little bit. But in the press, I've seen the kind of drum beating again, and all this stuff about we need to feed the world and food security and stuff. A lot of land is being taken. I mean, even as far as Australia, farmers and there was a poor guy that did a hunger strike up a TV tower, because the government came and said, right, we're taking your land, we need to turn it into a biofuel land. So and the same in India, a lot of land is being taken that could be growing food and is being used to kind of grow biofuels and things like that. So there's enough land to grow, food, and it could be done with sustainable farming. I mean, there's just so many people against this kind of GM technology. We've just had millions against Monsanto. The march against Monsanto around the world. 3 weeks ago, and thousands of people across 200 cities, all over the world have kind of marched. There's a big thing going on in Hawaii right now, where people are addressing the Senate there to say, you've got to stop it, because there's a huge drive to get in there. And then, there's other stuff like I think the next stage of this I want to kind of pick up on at some point, Dawn, where this goes after this.
Yeah, we could actually work up towards that towards the end. I was thinking maybe. But before we get to that, what do you think their rationale for doing this is? I mean, obviously there's more than one. I think they've got a couple of reasons, but what do you take? What's your take first? Money, profit.
So, I mean, if you look at like oil, I mean, go on, sorry.
Sorry. Do you think it's just that, or do you think there's a bit more to it?
Well, I mean, there's, if you kind of, there's a lot of different ways you can go on this, but I mean, I'd rather kind of concentrate on the one that I think would be easier for people to buy, for the general kind of people to buy. I mean, you can go into the Georgia Guidestones kind of area, and a kind of a slow kill, a soft kill of the population through this kind of disgusting kind of technology, or you can say, well, it's just purely for profit. I mean, just to run an analogy about the profit side of things, a few years ago, oil fell down and then went right up. The price of oil went right up and then dropped right back down. Well, the price of petrol steadily increased. They're not interested in feeding the world. They're not interested in food security. They're interested in profit. And if they control food, and all they've got to do is release it out, let it kind of propagate and pollinate, and then if you're growing their seed, even though, whether it's accidental or not, you've got their intellectual property. And like I said, I think it's like kind of picking fruit off a tree and saying, well, I've discovered apples, and I'm going to patent this. So it's ours, and if they want to spend money, helping humanity, great. But they're not. They've got no interest in that. They want to make money. They want to control things. When they control it, the price won't come down. It'll keep going up and up and up.
Yeah.
Like it did with oil and petrol.
With the GMO food, though, they tend to make that cheaper than the organic, don't they? The processed food tends to be cheaper. Do you not find that?
Yeah, the price of organic food is slightly more expensive, but you know, when you're running a chicken, I mean, you know, using the kind of argument for meat, you know, organic chicken and things like that is much more expensive, but you're using a lot more room to stuff. I mean, have you ever seen kind of battery hens and stuff like that? I mean, it's awful, absolutely awful.
Yeah, as I've seen it, yeah, it's
and so yeah, so you're kind of you're going to get it cheaper if you can do it like that. I mean, if you I'd rather pay a bit more and have organic, clean food, you know, than have the cheap GMO crap.
But for people that are not, I mean, like in kind of in the poverty line, it just makes it that's much more difficult for people that don't have, like, don't have the finances, unless they have the land, decent quality land to be able to grow their own.
Yeah, but okay, so they get kind of food that, you know, takes 20 years off their life after a few generations, or makes them sterile, you know. But they get, so it's a case, you know, the better you're kind of screwed each way. So you've got you know, potential kind of illnesses and sterility or things like that, or you've got cheap food, or you can grow kind of food in a more sustainable way. Bypass, you know, the GM stuff, stop growing kind of biofuels and things like that, and actually educate people, you know, on sustainable farming.
Yeah.
And I mean, people don't know how to grow food, and this goes back to something that I know Paul kind of talks about this. You know, people don't know how the process. Everything just comes from a shop or a factory. You know, I think that is a difficult argument, but the only way I can counter that is that they're not interested in feeding people. You know, they're not benign. They're not benevolent, kind of loving kind of people. They're not going to care about feeding people, making sure there's enough food. They want profit. You know, and
financial psychopaths.
Yeah, and control. You know, and that's it, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so let's go back a bit here, because I wanted to ask about, with the GMO process, you know, it involves the use of herbicides and pesticides. So could you maybe tell us what they are, and is there a connection between the recent sharp declines in bee numbers and GMO practices? What do you know about that, and like the bees dying out due to Roundup?
I know there's a number of different theories on the bees. You know, one is to do with the glyphosate poisoning of the bees, and the other is you know, saying it affects because you get kind of hive collapse syndrome. Suddenly all the bees just go out and they don't come back, or they just all spontaneously kind of die. And that again has been attributed to either kind of glyphosate problems, or mobile telephone masts, where it completely screws up. I mean, if you ever put a phone near a speaker, you get that horrendous noise, don't you? That, you know, that really awful kind of noise. Mm-hmm. There's been a lot of research on the fact that that interferes with the natural kind of gyroscopic guidance that bees have, and so they that's why they leave their hives and don't come back, and they die off, you know, because they can't get back to their home. So I know there's a few kind of theories on that, but you know, the glyphosates are poison. You know, I mean, that's what they do. They kind of kill weeds, and they kill the biodiversity the bees need, like the weeds that are around the food. So yeah, I mean, there's so much on this. There is so much, and there is a backlash building, I think, against the glyphosate stuff. I mean, there's a good organisation in this country, and they're worldwide as well, called the Pesticide Action Network, and there's loads of information on there. Pesticide Action Network, and they're really looking into the kind of damage that the pesticides are causing. You know, and that is one of the areas that bees study.
I was just throwing that in the chat there for the people listening in there.
Okay.
Now, where would you say that the GMO crops tend to be predominantly being grown currently?
Well, I know there's as I said, it's not so bad in Europe, but I'd say one of the biggest places is in the US. I mean, there's been a few attempts, to get labelling put on food there, but that hasn't really happened. I mean, in California, it got voted down, which is moronic. I can't conceive how anyone would want to vote against labelling. At least just to know that your food has got GM products in. But they voted against it, so it didn't happen. But yeah, I think at the moment the US, but it's you've had Hungary have kind of kicked out a lot of GM stuff. There's news where people are burning crops. I think Bolivia as well have just kind of expelled it, and they also kicked out McDonald's as well, if I remember rightly. Which again, I think they use a lot of GM stuff in their food.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, their food isn't food, really, is it? I mean, it doesn't even decay. I mean, there's been like studies done with it, and it's been left for months in a bag or something that hasn't. Have
you seen the woman that's got a 4-year-old cheeseburger and fries? She goes around schools. She has it in her bag and she gets it out. She said, "This is like 4 years old or 5 years old now, and it's just dried up. It hasn't rotted. Flies won't go on it. It's just preserved."
I mean, you think if people are eating this, especially on a regular basis, if people are eating this kind of food, it's not breaking down. Yeah. I mean, their body is going to struggle to break that down.
Yeah.
And then process it and expel it, eliminate it. So they're going to end up with all sorts of nasty bowel problems, maybe even twisted bowels or like bowel cancers. I mean, there is an increase in. Is it too much of a jump to say that this could lead to bowel cancer, or nasty irritable bowel syndrome or anything like that? Because obviously the body wants to expel it, but it might find it really hard to do.
Well, if you're eating food that has been genetically designed to cause holes in the stomach of insects, and then you look at things like leaky gut syndrome and things like that, I don't know, is it much of a leap to kind of say that there could be a possible link between that kind of, something that's designed to do that, and these kind of problems in food as well? Sorry. I think you just read the same comment I did.
I think Paul just summed it up there. Yeah, really big poos, burger-sized poo, he said in the chat.
Big Mac poo.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my goodness. Well, that would just totally... No, I'll just not go there. That was quite funny. Thanks for that, Paul. That's an image that sticks with you. So, moving on from there, Monsanto Protection Act. We did kind of you started to talk about that just before we came on air. I don't know if you want to add into that, if there's anything similar in the UK that you've heard of, or in Europe or whatever. I'm not sure if you have, or... No,
not so much in Europe, but I do know that, I mean, like we put in GMO Go-Go, I do know that former, Monsanto vice president, moves to the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, that they're meant to be kind of looking after the testing of it. And then you've got a Monsanto lawyer becomes a Supreme Court judge. There's a big revolving door between kind of the corporate and the political kind of upper levels. And so they look after each other, and like I said, it's about money and profit and not about kind of looking at it. So that's what they're doing. There's a mutual kind of interest, isn't there? So this protection will stop people when and if people find out that it is and it's proved that it is dangerous and damaging to health, then they may be covered. So
yeah, I mean, it makes it so clear, like in your animation where you have everything connected, like the FDA and lawyers going in and out, all the courts and the whatnot, and they're all working together under the same umbrella. It makes a lot of sense, really.
Yeah. Well, I think people are more waking up to this kind of stuff. I mean, I've never seen anyone say a good word about these kind of big biotech companies when on social networking, and I think people kind of know, what's going on with these, and more and more, I mean, you keep hearing the term like there's an awakening, and I think there is, but I don't think it's necessarily a spiritual one, but definitely a political one. People are becoming aware that the political system is rigged. It's a theatre, and it's a liar, and the globalization. Globalization is kind of just corporatization, and the line between government and corporate is so thin now.
I mean, it just makes it obvious how connected it all is, like the banks to the people that are in charge of the money and the money supply and generating the money supply, the private offshore bankers and banksters, I like to say. And like how they're connected with these, they all seem to be in control or in the boards of these biotech corporations or principal investors, and how they're why they've managed to get the immunity in the courts is because they are the globalists, they are the ones. It's them. It's like doing it basically.
Mm. Yeah.
It's them they set up the course. They set up. I mean, like whoever controls. I can't remember the exact wording of the quote from Amschel Meyer Rothschild.
I care not who makes the laws, as long as I control the money. Yeah.
That's the one. Yes, because like they obviously. I mean, I'm not naive enough to think that it's just the Rothschilds that are in control of the monetary supply. There is a lot more families, a lot more kind of people involved than just Rothschilds. And I wouldn't even be that sure that they are the top, because there is evidence to suggest that they're not, that there are, like the Aldo Brandinis may even be higher than them.
Yeah. Or aliens. Don't forget aliens. No, sorry,
oh, yeah. Martians. So yeah, so is it? I mean, I think we've more or less covered that it is bad, but there is absolutely no positives to it. There's nothing that you could say that there's any good side to it
for the GM technology.
Mm-hmm.
No, not I can think of. I mean, if there is a risk, look, I think, and I really I really believe this. But do you know what the most advanced technology in the world is? It's you. It's me. We are the most advanced technology on the bloody planet. Plants are the most advanced technology. They are light years, thousands and millions of light years ahead of anything we could possibly ever come up with and design, the DNA and everything. So we're like bloody apes trying to repair a Swiss watch, trying to change a Swiss watch. It's fucking ridiculous. This, from my point of view, that's my personal, that we shouldn't be doing this and it shouldn't be done. And if, Arpad Putztai is coming up and saying, well, actually just the inserting of a gene just causes this expression. I think inside the genetic code, and people have talked about that there's megabytes and megabytes and gigabytes of space available to put in there. I think we if anything, we've scratched the surface of what's actually in DNA and what it actually really does. And so if you start inserting stuff in, like I said, like gorillas with bloody trying to kind of repair a Swiss watch, the DNA has got protection in it. This is wrong. And boom, here's my expression, and it's going to make you sick. I mean, I just think that in it knows when it's been pissed around with, and it's got a defense. And that's just, my instinct says that, and my DNA says that. So no, I really can't think of anything apart from if there's a way of doing it through health, but you know, there are natural ways. Going right back to Rip Simpson, there are natural ways to have real benefit to health, the body, the planet, the mind, and the spiritual aspects of humanity. And we don't need a corporate fucking intervention with these bastards. Yeah, we need the natural kind of intervention. I'm sorry, am I allowed to swear?
Absolutely. Let it all out. Fuck, fuck.
Yeah.
There you go.
So, I mean, and I took ayahuasca, and I've done it a couple of times, and I was terrified of doing it. And I did it, and I saw a lot, and I saw the plants, and in a way I can never describe. And I planted some bulbs. I've never done that before, you know, a while ago. And it just felt like I was using technology after I'd seen it this way through taking ayahuasca, and that's how I see it now. It is the most advanced technology on the planet, and we have got no right to piss around with it. And that's it, really, in that way, and not for a long time. We don't understand it. We shouldn't be doing it, and it should definitely not be in corporate hands. Yeah.
So what do you think the next stage is then?
Next stage, human patents, patenting human genes. Some companies have already tried it. There's like a breast cancer mutation gene. There's a gene that can mutate and cause breast cancer. Companies have already tried to patent that. I think they got the patent and then it was reversed. So basically what that means is you think, oh, well, somebody's patented that gene and that's really good because they can do some research on it and we can have a cure for cancer. Well, you can for the right price because they own the patent. So nobody is allowed to do any research on it. And if you want the treatment that gene therapy, then you better have a lot of money.
And they're trying to, with the cannabis, they're trying to make a synthetic version or something, aren't they, so that they can patent it? Because at the moment, in its natural form, they can't patent it.
Yes, it's ours.
So it's not there's no profit in it at the moment.
Yeah, but
so they demonise it.
It's mental. It's lunacy. You know, it's a plant. It belongs to us. It's ours. Fuck off. I mean, oh God,
yeah.
You know. Sorry, I know I could be a lot.
We jumped into the rabbit hole here, haven't we?
Yeah, I could be a little bit more eloquent about it. I know, but I think.
No. Just express yourself the way you want to.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about here. There's no censorship or anything. I'm not going to try and steer you anyway. I want you to have your own truth on my show. Okay.
Well, you know, I mean, that's it. Yeah, I've said it. You know, that's it. I don't think. I don't think it belongs in corporate hands, and nature is nature. There needs to be more education. We should be teaching stuff about this in schools. You know, instead of pushing the corporate shit down the kids and turning them into fucking factory fodder, we should be teaching them about nature, how to grow stuff, what's good for them, how to alkalise their fucking system, instead of pouring corporate shit into their bodies, you know, and giving them crap. Rant. Sorry. See, I was trying to be all calm. Hello, Dawn. How are you? But no, you've got me going now. Well, I've got myself.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, because I recognise that myself as well. Sometimes I can get into a good bloody rant and let it all out. It's quite therapeutic actually. But sometimes there's times when it needs to happen. You know, you need to get that information out, and the passion that comes through, you know, it's real.
Well, you know, I mean, I think that is the next stage. I think, you know, that there'll be. I think Congress were doing. Again in America we're doing, but it affects us. You know, it's still valid even as in America. You know, we'll get the backwash of it as well anyway. But they were deciding on whether or not to patent human genes, and you don't hear anything about it. You know, really, you don't hear anything about it, and it's disgusting. And who are these sick bastards, these judges that are saying these are okay for money? You know, they're handing over them. I mean, so what happens? So you get a kid, you have gene therapy, your gene is modified so you don't get breast cancer. You then go on to have kids. That gene exists in your kids. So what do? A product recall, you know? Do you have to pay for that gene that's in your kid the same way that a farmer has to pay if he accidentally gets stuff cross-pollinating into his field through no fault of his own? We can't trust these bastards. We cannot trust them. They are evil. They only care about fucking money and profit. And, yeah.
Right. Now, this hours went so fast. We've only got like a couple of minutes left, so I'm going to have to kind of fast track here. So, basically, because I mean, if you're staying for the next hour, you're more than welcome to stay because it's a Dark City show. It's a bit different format. But yeah, you're welcome to stay with us, and the phone lines are open then, so people might call in and ask you things. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But I still have a couple of things I would like to ask you as well.
Please, yeah.
Great. Anyway, I just to finish up, just like to, if you have any final words that you'd like to put out there, maybe if you want to talk about, if you have any plans to make any more animations in the future.
Yeah, we're talking about the next one. I mean, the thing is, like GMO Go-Go took 9 months, and basically, I've got a day job, and I was getting in after work. Sitting right in front of the computer, taking my coat off. My partner was putting dinner in front of me. I was eating dinner, and then Paul and I were just working together, until 1 o'clock in the morning. So it takes a lot of time, and we both need a break from it, because it is a lot of work.
That's fair enough, yeah.
So we have about a 6-month break or something, and then or whenever we feel like we want to do it. So we've got some ideas for the next one. might have a bit of a style change, but yeah, definitely we love it. We hate it. Kind of a bit, but we love it, and we love it when it's finished. If you know.
Oh yeah. I totally get that.
I want people to download it or any of our films and spread them around, upload them to YouTube. The only thing we ask is that people don't kind of cut them up and take the credits off, because a lot of people worked on it, and we want them to have the credits to stay on there. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Don't do it, because I'll find out. I've got a Google kind of thing that finds you if you do it, and I send you an email.
So it's informaticfilms.com. Is there any other websites you want us to put out there as well?
Naturalnews.com. I mean, that's a great website. I know they sponsored us. They have got excellent articles on there. So, really good health stuff, natural kind of, resources. Coconut oil helps with Alzheimer's. I found that on Natural News. That was very interesting, that.
Interesting. Yeah. Right. Well, thank you very much for coming on, Kirk. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on, and just giving you this platform just so you could get that out there, that information, your knowledge on the subject, and some fantastic films that Kirk's made. Please check them out. GMO A Go-Go, they're all on YouTube, I think, and they're on your website, the informaticfilms.com, where you can buy them as well if you want.
I don't download them for free.
Or download them for free. I mean, there you go. You got it from the horse's mouth there.
You can't call you a
horse. But the GMO Go-Go, Meet Your Straw Man, and the other one was...
The Disclosure.
There you go. So thanks everybody for listening. Until next week, good night.
Good night, Dawn. Thank you.
Thanks, Kurt.